Welcome back, guys. Let's jump in. Keep listening. Okay, guys, so we've said that it's good to be transparent, and you obviously want to be with somebody that we don't feel like we're being judged. But when do we think is a good time to be transparent with that person, or to talk about boundaries and to set those boundaries? What do we think?
The right time to be able to actually, you said, like, to divulge personal information.
Yes.
It's more of, I think you just have to gauge the extent to which you guys are actually, exposing or putting your cards on the table. Anyways, I would say there are times when I've been in relationships or I've been talking to someone, and she might have given me too much information, and I'm like, oh, we're not there yet. You shouldn't be giving that information. But I'm always very open to letting people know that it's important to get your cards on the table, because the sooner you get your cards on the table, the quicker you can sort of like leave that space of uncertainty and then move into that place whereby you're trying to build something. I think also there's certain information that you shouldn't divulge until you get to certain positions in your relationship. Like, there's some information that you like any game breakers. So say, for example, you have a kid, you need to divulge that as soon as possible, because let the person know that you have a kid. You know what I'm saying? Not to listen to the wedding.
So Rick Breyer is my son.
So any game breakers, you need to divulge that as soon as possible. But any things that would kind of build on the trust, that let them gain your trust enough for you to tell them certain things. So there's certain things that you might be vulnerable about, like it's not like they have the right to know, but you just want to like divulge to them. So I think you just have to know, your relationship, but ensure you could get certain game breakers out the way so that you can, as I said, start building something, rather than you're still in that space of, I don't know whether or not the relationship is going somewhere. So I would say.
Yeah, I think I will agree with Babz on that one. That saying, it's as soon as practicable. It's like you just kind of know. I mean, it's probably like a first date conversation.
Yes.
Except you guys have got some form of friendship
like
already. Friendship, and then it's like the next stage where you guys can stop. Like, then you move into the next stage. So, because obviously it's something that it's an indication as well of where you guys are. And it also depends on, how can I say, in terms of your readiness for a relationship, for long-term relationship. For someone a little bit older that is ready to settle down, you probably don't have all that lead time.
Like, wow. No time. Wow.
Exactly.
I earn 200K. This is me. I work for the NHS.
Wow.
Exactly. This is a fair transaction. But so that's why I think it's always a good point to where do you see that person go with you, which is quite good about you kind of know what you want from that relationship, and you know that's an aspect of the relationship, just like finance thing, which is probably a bit edgy as well. I think these are kind of conversations that are markers for a very serious relationship. You don't want to be discussing those gateways with someone that you're thinking of entering a relationship with. I don't use that as an excuse to just say, oh, by the way, sorry. Yeah, you couldn't hold yourself. But
So you couldn't hold yourself and fine. So I guess, and I think we've touched on this in kind of different ways. So if we're kind of throwing out advice to a younger self of us, to a 16-year-old self of us, what advice would we then say in regards to boundaries, in regards to how far is too far, and I guess in regards to building intimacy in a relationship without compromising purity, because how are we going to chuck it out there? Because like I think like some of the things we were saying earlier is, it's for a 16-year-old, they haven't seen what we've had the opportunity to see now, so they're still, if you like, back in the past of what we've had. They haven't seen the future yet. So it's then, how do you translate that into information that's like, okay, I can kind of understand and see where you're coming from, to know that you're not saying this from a place of I want you to be restricted all your life, but I'm saying from a place of love, because what your choices, your decisions now will come back to affect you somehow.
I don't want to be one talking all the time, but I think I just throw this in there. I think for a guy, for talking my 16-year-old self, I would have advised myself to pursue more relationships more than physical.
Yes,
just the
that's
physical
good. That's
nature
good.
of like towards women. I think that's what Zimon chased me down to today. That's why I talk about memories and mindset. I feel like if I had chased more relationships, I would have probably been in a better position than I am mentally in the space where I'm at. So I think what I would advise any 16-year-old is just chase more tangible relationships, and out of that will birth the fruits of sort of a beautiful relationship anyways, or you learn more about yourself, but rather than just chasing the physical part of things. So that would have been.
And when you say like relationships, are you just saying like just in terms of relating with people, not just
people.
like
not just
in
women,
a
people,
romantic
like,
kind of sense,
just
friendships,
friendships.
Yeah. I think I've had a similar advice, because I think sometimes we can get too soon, too quick, narrowed on like, let's just start to do like a one-on-one relationship. But I think when you have gotten to know like a lot of like just in a plus there's safety in that group, you know, like honestly, because then if you're being with somebody that's like anyhow, people will tell you they'll be like this person you need to like just check it out a little bit. But I think kind of developing those friendships in a way, it's not the same as filling that gap for a romantic relationship as such, but you're less like I need this person to complete me, as it were, or like you kind of, your life is full. So
and I think also you get to know the person really, because I think there are aspects of people that you see in community. So like if you're just talking to the person, you may only see certain sides of the person,
but they can show you what they want to show you as well.
Exactly. So it's in community, so and there's only so much you can really hide as a person, like if you're in a group, so someone else will pick up certain vibes. So I think there's safety in numbers basically. So
I was just thinking about what my 16-year-old self was, just reflecting on how I was. Pretty interesting, really. I finished secondary school at 15, so my 16-year-old self was already quite exposed to a lot. I was so curious. There were many things I wanted to try out. Like I was saying just off the group that I think I was probably 11 or 12 when I sent a letter and asked a girl out. So there were many things I wanted to try out my 16-year-old self. So just looking back at some of my mistakes and some of the things I think I could have done better. I think my 16-year-old self, I'll be saying to myself, get a mentor, really. Because there are just a few things that really, if you want to try out, you don't really need to try out yourself, to be honest. You can speak to people who have done the same thing, let them honestly and transparently share their experiences, their views, their lessons with you, rather than wanting to go that route as well and making the same mistakes that they made, which you could essentially save yourself from. So I'd say to myself, get a mentor, and I think one of the challenges we definitely had, most of us, I did as a teenager, was having that listening here from people who will not judge me, who will not say I'm too young for this. People who would assume that I didn't know as much as I knew, even though I knew that much more than they knew, in my view. For instance, about sex. You think a 16-year-old, a 15-year-old, a 40-year-old doesn't know as much. But it's not true. It's really not true, because I was exposed to way more than that, than people want to believe I was exposed to. Yeah, but I mean, if you get the opportunity to talk to somebody who's a bit more mature, who can take you as a protege and mentor you and explain life to you and talk to you and encourage you, that say it's right to feel this way, it's right to want to experience these things, it's right to want to have a girlfriend, it's right to want to do all these things. It's okay, it's fine that you're feeling this way, but these are the things you need to know. These are the things you need to know. And I mean, I grew up in a church, So it wasn't like I didn't get the message. The message was always out there. But the question is, do you trust the message enough, right? Do you feel like these people will understand you? Do you feel like they know where you're coming from, really? Right? So if you have somebody who is close enough, who is mature enough, and of course, it's about you, really. I think it's, if I'm looking back now and saying to myself, 16-year-old, I said, get a mentor.
That's good. I think when we talk about mentor as well, like just to say, like it doesn't have to be like some auntie or uncle somewhere. Like I think you have to get into the concept of like a big brother, big sister kind of vibe. So I think for me, like although I didn't have any older brothers and I really wanted an older brother, like my cousin who was close in age to me but older, and you know he was like engaged, getting to be married, and like when I started doing relationships, like he was somebody that could kind of throw advice and shed light, and I could talk to about certain things. So I think it's thinking about it like, who is that person that's like a big brother or big sister, not necessarily somebody that's like completely different generation that you're like what's his Instagram, what's his this, like okay, it's not that deep, but
that was the bit I was kind of alluding to about like that safety in numbers, because it can point things out to you that you can't see, because what do you know at that age?
Very true. So I was going to ask, so I know we've been talking about like self-control and stuff, but in a dating relationship, and you can chip in dating relationship, like is self-control just relating to like the physical aspects? Is it just relating to like, you know, sex and the boundaries that we place, or are there other things that we can exercise self-control in when it comes to a dating relationship?
Yeah, I mean, thanks.
At this point, Jemimah's pointing at Laolu.
Say something, bro.
He had a question that was really good. So that's why I was like...
Yeah, because I think oftentimes when we talk about self-control, we always sort of narrow it down to just the sexual aspect of it.
True.
And some people, that isn't the biggest issue. They can do the self-control. It's not that issue, but there are other things
Like money,
alcohol, power,
Anger,
career,
True.
and then
Another one.
and it's just one of those dangerous things that sometimes initially it might be attractive because you want a guy that is focused, is ambitious,
and, you know,
and
full
is,
of zeal and passion, but then that
You can get too much.
and that's one of the things I learned from my previous relationship, because I was obsessed in a way with some things I wanted to achieve career-wise at certain times, and trust me, relationship was just it's just not going to be right there in front, and then it's just one of those things that no matter what it is in our relationship-wise, it would always come second to those things that I wanted to achieve at a particular time, and gradually you begin to, well, now I know better, to know that you've left gaps on different places, and also because sometimes you might meet other people that might be as passionate about career-wise that
So
way,
you're attracted to
and
them.
you then begin to get distracted based on that, just because. That was Dami, by the way.
no, it's sinking in. Like,
It's just it's just that looking at your life as a whole and thinking right now, what can I now say? Pause.
Yeah, that's good.
This is something I need to sort of look at again on a holistic manner, and it's just one of those things. I mean, some people love the money, they love the cars and all of those things, and it's just like, I can't resist it. And you're like, okay, dude, how much savings have we got left at the end of these things?
Just say the car.
There you go.
The car is the savings.
Check my little
Look at your ISA account. Your ISA account.
And I think some of those things that, quite frankly, I mean, because to some of my friends, like, they do have any issues in these other areas, but even though they were this sort of good background, moral background, but there was these other areas that now is causing a big issue in long-term wise in the relationship, because they were not an issue then, but because they were not taken care of in terms of controlling this inordinate and now,
I think that's powerful. That's very powerful what you just said. More than anything else, and I like the fact we're not talking only just about sexual self-control, and I like looking at red flags in dating.
Absolutely.
And in order for you to picture red flags in dating, you have to look long term and see what can this look like in the next 5 years, 10 years, and I love the one about anger, because anger is one of those things that can be sort of warped into determined to do something or push it. And I like the determination in this guy, but if taken out of a canister, the canister of goal, ideas driven, it could be seen as anger. It could be like, I want to do this now and this kind of thing, and
Smash out
my way and the highway kind of thing. So even for me, like being honest, when we were in the first year of marriage between me and Dami, I was the cause of most of our arguments. Because I'm the kind of person that likes to get things done now, here and now, like just get it done. But you can't treat a human being like that. So say for example you have a problem with them, you want to just get it done here. Let's just finish it there. And Dami is the opposite. She's like, I want to take my time. I'm not really trying to talk about it right now.
I don't want to talk about it just yet.
I want my pause. So for the first year, we were hitting heads every time, locking heads, and I'm always upset, and I'm thinking, what's going on? And I think, I'm gonna I think God just told me, pause for a second and think about the things you're trying to talk about, And my father was one thing as a man, you need to pick your battles, and then number 2, you need to be the thermostat, not the thermometer.
Absolutely.
So you regulate the temperature rather than responding to the temperature. So when I learned those 2 things, I said, okay, so this is what a man should do. Second year was a good breeze, because second year of marriage, I realized that when I shut my mouth, most of the arguments went, because it's like, and then of course you pick the time when you talk about them. Doesn't mean you don't talk about it. You pick the time to talk about it. You pick the right time. So say for example, that would have been, so if a girl was dating me, I would like, look at them red flags, because I look like I was a guy that wanted to get it done, and you might be attracted to that, but the truth is that Mr. Get It Done might want to get you done too as well, you know what I'm saying? I want to get it, moving.
It's true.
So you have to pick on these things as well.
That's tricky. We can kind of, I guess, sidetrack and just focus on one thing, but I guess self-control really is knowing yourself in pretty much every aspect of life,
and the sexual part of it is part of it.
Just one
aspect of it. But sometimes people just focus so much on that, which is why they would then ask the whole how far can we it's not just that.
It's like, are you asking how far can I spend my money and not finish it? I mean, it's true. It's
you want to do the relationship well holistically. You want to do it all round. I mean, not just don't let us touch each other or have sex, but it's like, how do we talk with each other? Are we patient with one another? Are we forgiving towards one another? Everything like that.
I think. Oh, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that the points you guys have made, which are quite vital, got me thinking. I was just thinking about how this relates to our thoughts, thoughts life, because when you talk about self-control, you're talking about a human being as a whole, and that human being is a culmination of many things.
100%.
A lot of it, our experiences, our past, our desires, our dreams, our aspirations, our wills, our emotions, all of those things make us up, right? And a lot of the things that translate into actions come from our thought life, right? So I'm just thinking, this is an area, our thought life is an area where I think a lot of us should be paying more attention to. I was just thinking about, some of the things I said earlier on about, just tweaking a few things about the things I was exposed to, the information, media, all of that, and then how that translated into my actions. I think practically looking at it, I suppose we should all, at every point in time, try to regulate that bit of our life. Consciously determine what comes into your life. Consciously, because the Bible says that out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And of course, when the mouth speaks, things happen, because you don't just speak, you set things in motion, right? So that's why, it's like your thoughts are directly proportional to their actions, right?
Yeah.
So, when we look at also just talking about the sexual bit of it, for instance, if you're exposed to pornography, you will most likely leave out certain things. If you want to try certain things out, you want to do certain things, and that translates into a lot. So I think it's an area that we should all look at, as human, just exercising some self-control around what you consciously think about, taking proactive actions to ensure that what gets into your mind is what you get into it, what you want to get into it, and then when something that you don't want to get into it gets into it, you try to do like a purge, get it out deliberately. I think it's also a key area of self-control. And I think that was a very important perspective that Laolu brought in to say, this thing is not just sexual, it's not just emotional and physical. There are other parts of it that one needs to look at.
So your mind is like cut off certain relationships, remove yourself like from certain situations, if need be, just to guard that space. So.
It's essentially saying, I know this is my trigger. I know that this, the corresponding action to this is usually this when this happens. So you proactively looking at that situation and saying, no, I shouldn't be. I shouldn't go there.
You don't.
That's key. I think something that you've highlighted there in terms of just kind of, I guess, taking stock of what it is that, these are my triggers, cutting them out of your life. Something that somebody once said to me is, do a SWOT analysis. So SWOT is it's a business term, your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Or in another sense, do a self-audit. So you, at various points in your life, like every year, I don't know, people do New Year resolutions, whatever, but you can choose when, at some point in like the year or something, just be like, okay, what is it this year that, I've not had self-control in, or I've been struggling with, and then sit down and be like, okay, if these are the entry points, how can I block those entry points? Because, like we think about countries and like the security systems, not everything gets through customs, like I remember once, because we like to carry and Elibo from Nigeria. Thank God, those days are over. But sometimes, like certain things just need to be screened, and they're like, no, we can't allow this in our country. And I think in the same way, you kind of need to tighten up your security and be like, okay, I can't allow this in my system. I can't allow this. Because if you don't do that, then year in, year out, you will keep fall into the same things. You keep being under attack, and it's like, how long are you gonna let yourself being beat left, right, and center? Like at some point, you need to say, this is like enough is enough. Let's pick ourselves from the ground.
It's enough. Stop it. Stay outside.
I was just gonna add that that's also a very key point, Jemimah. I've seen people who know that some of the current circumstances in their life and some of the things that they do currently came as a result of their exposure to new media, say Instagram. And some of them, some of the people I know closely who have said to themselves, this is not a place for me. And they've deleted the app and just shut it down. And the moment they made that decision, a lot changed for them, right? And I think this is something that is not really easy to
it's not easy to do. 100%.
It's not easy to do. It's like you're breaking off something that sort of gives you some satisfaction, that sort of gives you some kind of fulfillment, and you're saying to that thing, stop. That's why self-control is a topic. That's why it's so difficult, right? So it takes a lot from us to say to that particular thing that makes us feel good, to then say, stop, right.
Thank you so much for listening. Stay tuned for the next episode. See you soon.